Hi, friends. I hope you're having a great day. Today's episode of Spark Your Presentation Skills is all about vocal delivery. So, today I'll be covering the three most common mistakes that presenters make, and more importantly, how to avoid them. Now, these are all about vocal delivery skills, so I'm not talking about all the mistakes that'll be happening. However, I will be covering those in a free guide that I'll have available next week on my website. So I'll share more information with you then. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about why we are not live today. This is a video. There's no engaging comments. We can't have a conversation together because I'm filming this on March 13th, which happens to be the morning that Facebook broke. Yeah, we broke the internet. I don't know what's going on. It's Facebook and Instagram have been down almost all morning, and it makes it a little difficult for us to go live for our morning show. So here we are. We're improvising, we're going live, and it's all good except for one super annoying thing is when Facebook's down and you can't post and upload awesome things, you also can't give a shout out to this girl for her birthday. That's right, March 13th. It's my birthday, folks, and I was so looking forward to having a party on live with you. But we can't do that, so you get this instead. So let's talk about our topic. First, I suppose I should introduce myself. So if you're new to this show, my name is Heather Sager. I'm a former entrepreneur. No, that's not right. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a former executive turned entrepreneur. And what I do is I teach busy professionals and entrepreneurs how to clarify their message and develop their skills to deliver exceptional live workshops and presentations. And this show is all about me sharing my experiences and expertise to give you a few tools to help you in your journey of becoming a more influential communicator. So, what's interesting is when I think about the concept of communication, it's not something that has previously been natural for me, which that statement might surprise you considering my business is built on communication and I'm talking to you today. But I'm talking a long time ago when I was in my teens and early 20s, communication was really hard. What you might not know about me is I have a hearing loss. And I've worn hearing technology for the last almost 8 years. But prior to that, I really struggled to connect with other people. I struggled to obviously hear them, but hearing is so much more than that. Have you ever been in a situation where you weren't able to understand someone, so you asked them to repeat themselves? And after doing that over and over and over again, you eventually just get tired of asking and give up. And in my life 15 years ago, that's about where I was. And I noticed that I actually altered my personality and I changed how I interacted with people and built relationships based on my inability to hear, which sucked. Now, at the time, I didn't understand that that's what was happening. I just thought I was growing into myself as an adult and I thought I was an independent person, but it really turns out that my inability to hear people really prohibited me from exploring relationships and building connections with people in a way that I hadn't before. But my hearing loss has also been an incredible gift because in the absence of being able to hear people's words, I developed a really special set of skills that have allowed me to hear in a different way. And that's reading people, reading their energy, reading their emotions, reading their interests, reading their enthusiasm into what's being discussed or what they're experiencing. I've learned to better understand body language and tone and facial expressions in a way that really captures the intent of a message. And side note, I've actually been able to prove that this whole idea around delivery and communication is way more than just words. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to teach a class on customer service in Denmark. It was a class full of almost 100 individual team members, and most of them spoke English. All of them, English was their second language, but there were people in the room who also did not speak English. So it was a very interesting and challenging assignment. And I had 2 full days to teach. It was one of the most incredible workshops that I have ever given in my life. And sure, there were some hangups with some language barriers. We had a couple moments where the leader of the company would come up and translate. But an incredible thing happened. I learned that when you are true to who you are, you're compassionate, and you're in service to other people, and your message is good and it's helpful. I've learned that if you can communicate that by more than just the words that you say, if you can relay that through what you do with your body and your hand gestures and your facial expression and what we're talking today, most importantly, your tone, people get it, even if they don't get the words. And for me, in my journey of growing into where I'm at now, I learned that a very hard way. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I've had the experience, that I've chosen to take my hearing loss and do something good with it. But I'm so grateful that I have had the opportunity to have that experience, because it means that I can show up and share that super special, unique experience that I've had with you. Because I know you. I know you have big goals. I know there are things that you want to accomplish this year and further down the line in the future. And I bet that really strong communication skills, I bet they're a big piece of it. Now, on surface level, you might be thinking, oh, communication skills aren't in my goals. No, outwardly so, they're not. But if you really start thinking about what it's going to take for you to accomplish that goal, whether you are a new business owner and you're trying to get more confident in your marketing message, and meeting one-on-one with clients and you have to close a sale, you have to relationship build. Or you're in the corporate world and you're trying to build relationships with key stakeholders. You're looking for a promotion. You want to get more vocal in staff meetings, or whatever it looks like for you. I want you to think about your goal, and I want you to really ask yourself, what is it going to take for you to accomplish it? And I bet having very influential and effective communication skills is a piece of it. And my hope is that through this show, I can provide you some simple, tangible strategies each week to help you take one step closer to that goal. And if your goal happens to have anything to do with live presentations and public speaking skills, that's a bigger bonus. I hope that you join me over on my website for more information around how I can better support you. But at a minimum, I think there are so many great nuggets that we can use for all sorts of communication. You agree? Okay, if you're watching this video, I want you to list in the comments below, how does communication show up in your goals for this year? I'm really curious, because I want to curate the content that I deliver in these videos each week and on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I want to curate them to things that you actually need. So keep giving me feedback and tell me below, how does communication show up in your goals? Okay. Thanks for taking a moment and doing that. Let's dive in now to today's topic, which again are the 3 most common mistakes that presenters make when it comes to their vocal mechanics. It's a really dry, weird word to say it, but essentially it's our tone, everything that we do with our instrument, that is our voice. How do we actually deliver the words? You'll notice even as I'm speaking to you today, my voice has different inflection and different volumes, and my pace is varied because I'm trying to keep things more interesting. I'm trying to hold your attention and keep you engaged and excited about the content. Variation in how we use our voices is important, but there are 3 really, I would just say, pet peeves of mine when it comes to using your voice as an instrument that I don't want to see you making the mistake of. So I'm going to teach you how to, well, teach you one, what is the mistake? But number two, more importantly, how do you fix it or avoid it altogether? Are you ready? All right, mistake number one, not talking loud enough. Now, you might think this is obvious, and it is, but in the wise words of the famous Will Rogers, just because it's common sense doesn't mean it's common practice. And that's true with this specific common mistake. So not talking loud enough. Now, what I'm not talking about here is I'm not talking about in general speaking loud enough, though I think there's always room for opportunity in terms of volume for a presenter, especially when they're not on a microphone. What I'm actually referring to here isn't the typical delivery for a presentation. I think most people do a fairly good job of projecting their voice so people can hear them. But there are specific instances where I notice time and time again where presenters falter. And that's two areas. One, it's when they make jokes or have tangents that happen during their delivery. Whether they think of something off the cuff and share a story or an example of something that has happened, or they make a joke around part of their presentation, or a self-deprecating humor. Usually what happens is when people are in their flow, when they're in their groove for presenting, they are sitting up straight. They're using great hand gestures. They're projecting their audience. But for a moment, you see them show a more authentic version of themselves through that little slip in their humor, or through that little side tangent, where you'll notice their body language just relax for a moment and they'll make a joke. And in those moments, they drop their tone and they drop their volume. And oftentimes, a lot of the audience misses the magic, because those jokes and those little tangents, those are pure gold. They make the presenter more likable. When you have a shared laugh, it's like you're part of this inner circle that you feel connected with people. And when you don't allow other people inside that circle, well, you shut them out. And that shutout creates distance between you and your audience. Nothing's worse than not hearing the punchline of a joke when everybody else around you is laughing. I know that to be true way more than most. And it's your responsibility as a presenter to make sure that other people in your audience don't feel alienated. So yes, while you probably know that speaking loudly and clearly is important, I challenge you to ensure that you're speaking loud and clear enough in the most important moments, all throughout your talk. That was kind of piece number one. I promised a second piece of that loudness. And that is when other people contribute to the conversation. So let's say you ask a question to the audience and somebody answers. Or let's say you're just presenting and an audience member asks a question. Either scenario, when the audience speaks, someone out there speaks, you have to repeat their question before you answer it. Or you need to repeat or paraphrase what they said. This is so important because just like I made that reference about being part of the inner circle when it comes to your joke, other people want to feel included to this one-on-one coaching situation that's happening right in real time in front of them. And when they can't hear what's going on, you know what happens? They lean back, they look away, they get bored, and they pull out their phone. You don't want to give them an opportunity to disengage. You don't want to give them a reason to disengage. I mean, let's be honest here. People are busy, their minds are going a mile a minute, and they're going to get distracted, just like I did when my computer chimed. It just happens. Their phone's going to buzz. They're going to think of what's for dinner tonight. Things happen. And so their minds are going to go elsewhere. But if you're the reason that they become uninterested because they can't hear, you've made a big mistake, my friend. So don't do it. It's your responsibility as the presenter. Think of yourself as the host of the room. It's your responsibility to ensure everyone feels included. And that means ensuring everyone can hear what's happening in the conversation. Okay, that's common mistake number 1. Moving on to common mistake number 2. Ready? Filling all, I wanted to make sure I said that correctly, so I looked down and then I got a little weird about it. So common mistake number 2, filling all space with words. That took a long way for us to get there, but you know what? We got there. Filler words, my friend. This again is a pretty common thing. It's in Speech 101. We talk about it all the time, and like and But what about other words like and so? There might be a few other words that you notice people using, but filler words, they're like clutter. Think about your house. And when you get home from work, you walk inside and you drop down your purse and you take off your shoes and you forget to put them away. And the next day you do the same. And maybe you leave a jacket and maybe you set down a shopping bag. And all of a sudden at the end of the week, you start taking up all of your space and your house is just cluttered and it doesn't feel good. And you start becoming stressed. And maybe this example is only relative to me because I get very stressed out and frustrated when my house is cluttered. But maybe it resonates with you. Who knows? But here's the interesting thing about communication. Filler words are like clutter. And if you want to have a well-organized presentation that people can follow, you have to cut the clutter. And that means you need to create space for people to think. You have to give them space to actually absorb your words. Otherwise, you're just going at them a mile a minute and they can't keep up. So when it comes to filler words, you'll notice that we get uncomfortable with silence. We think that if there's silence or slowness in our pace or conversation, that people will think we're not smart or that we've forgotten what we are going to say. But it's not true. Using an actual pause strategically is a really powerful way to allow your audience to think. So when it comes to filler words, I actually just did that right there. So that was a really, really clear example of using a filler word. It's a very common filler word that many of us are using over and over and over again, just like and. In fact, what I've noticed moving from live presentations to these online videos, I watch my game tape over and over again. I didn't even realize that I was using filler words. I hadn't used them in years. And all of a sudden I was entering words like and so, which, by the way, there is a really great opportunity to use those words. But when you find yourself using them over and over and over again, it becomes repetitious. You know you have a crutch. And that crutch is a filler word. So I challenge you, what are your filler words? It might not be or like or It might be and or so. It might be something else. But the only way to know is if you actually watch your own presentation and take note. So if you're looking to get rid of filler words, if you're looking to replace them with silence. Instead of a filler word, add a period and a pause. Instead of a filler word, add a period and a pause. That's a really important way for you to get more intentional with your communication. But trust me, that's not going to happen just because you know you should do it. You have to actually plan that period and that pause. Otherwise, you'll just keep going with your thoughts. So the best way for you to eliminate filler words and not make the common mistake of replacing common filler words with trendy filler words like and so, you need to record yourself on video and watch it. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking there's no way in heck I'm ever going to do that. I hate watching myself on video. I'm going to challenge you for just a moment, so stay with me. I want you to think about this. You're here because you're interested in getting better at communicating. because you want others to listen to you, right? If you are going to ask other people to look at you and listen to your words, but you are unwilling to look at yourself and listen to your own words, isn't that a little hypocritical? I would say so. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean that you're not needing to do it. You have to get uncomfortable if you want to grow. This is basic growth mindset. Is the real growth happens in the discomfort. So if the idea of putting a camera on yourself makes you uncomfortable, good. It means you should do it. I want you to get out your phone. Here, I got my iPhone here. Put it on camera mode, selfie. And if you don't like selfie, turn it around so you don't have to watch yourself. But record yourself for 1 minute. Answer a couple questions. Where are you from? What's your favorite childhood memory? What do you do for work? What do you love about it? What do you not love? No one else ever needs to see this video, but you do. By only watching that video, that's the only way that you're ever really going to know where you stack up when it comes to your communication skills. You might think you know, but you don't until you do. That was kind of circular in my reference, but what I'm trying to say is if you want to improve any of these things that I'm talking about today, don't just nod your head and say, yes, I know that. You have to get it out of your own head and put it into practice. And that practice starts by putting yourself on video and watching your game tape. That's how you move from being a good presenter to an exceptional communicator. That's how you start building out communication for yourself that's influential, where you get other people wanting to listen to you. It's through practice. And that practice comes with reflection. It's probably the best tip that I'm ever going to give you. Okay, I got excited there for a moment. Let's move on to vocal common mistake number 3. This is a big pet peeve of mine. Unintentionally asking questions. Okay, let me explain that one for a moment. Have you ever had a conversation with a person who ended every statement with a question mark? You notice I just asked you a question. I ended the question mark with an uptick in my voice. Did you catch that? Have you ever had a conversation where someone ended every sentence with a question mark? That was a question. Okay, let me give you an example of something that is not a question, but because of that subtle uptick, it becomes a question. So if I were to say, hey, I'm going to the store today. Easy, sentence done. But if I were to say, hey, I'm going to the store today, I just made my sentence a question. And that question opened the door to showcase my lack of certainty. It changed it to, am I asking you for permission to go to the store? Am I asking you if I'm going to the store today or a different time? What am I asking for you? Like this idea of me asking for validation or permission, that's not good. I mean, unless you're actually asking for someone's opinion, in that case, just ask. But when you're having a conversation, especially if you're trying to position yourself as an influencer or an authority on a topic, and this is important if you're giving presentations, you should not be giving people the impression that you're unsure of your own content. You get that? When you end your statements with a question mark, you're telling people that you don't believe in what's coming out of your mouth. And that's not good. Now, it's one of those things that even if you're feeling insecure in what you're talking about, I mean, face it, we all deal with imposter syndrome. I sat in executive boardrooms when I was 26 years old, and every single day I was thinking, I have no business being here. When I traveled to global companies with the CEO of my former organization I work with, and I sat in these meetings that I had no business being in, I questioned every single thing that came out of my mouth. But you know what was important? Whatever came out of my mouth, even though inside I was fighting that imposter syndrome, outside I exuded confidence. I delivered statements. And when I asked questions, they were intentional. And that's how you start building really effective communication skills to further you in your goals. For me, I moved from being a coordinator, hourly level employee to an executive at a really successful company in the span of a few years. And I would say my communication skills were paramount to that success. Hands down, every single employee review I had over the 10 years I was there, communication skills was top of the list. I firmly believe that communication skills are the thing that's holding you back from where you want to go, and it's the ticket for you to get to where you want to be. Because I know it's bigger than where you're at right now, but it's holding you back because you're not quite sure how to fix it. I'm so glad you're, ooh, I just almost spilled my coffee. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I'm almost spilling my coffee all over my office. This is right where you need to be. You need to be focusing on your own development. We have to get super tactical around how you form your message, how you deliver your words, what you say, how you say it. All of these things are so important. And I can't wait to see how you apply them in your lives and start really taking steps towards that big dream. So our 3 common mistakes for vocal delivery that we covered today, remember, those were all about making sure that you're being inclusive with your volume, talking loud enough at the moments that really matter so your audience feels included. We also talked about common mistake number 2, and that's filling all of your space with filler words. Take a moment, take a breath. And when you find yourself tempted to use a filler word, instead put a period and a pause and start your new sentence. Common mistake number 3, that was all about unintentionally asking questions. If you're going to ask a question, ask it. But if you're going to make a statement, make it. Ensure that your inflection matches your intention. I hope these tips were valuable for you. I'd love to hear how you'll be using them when it comes to accomplishing your big dreams for this year and beyond. If you're interested in more information and want to learn some more detail about pace and pitch and tone and exuding passion in your voice, you might want to check out this week's blog post. I talk about the 5 P's of vocal delivery and just how understanding what they are and practicing them in your daily conversation will make a big difference. So head on over to heathersager.com/voice and you can learn all about the 5 P's. Until next week, I hope you have an incredible week. Keep up your learning and don't forget to practice. And remember, no excuses.